Welcome to our Friday live stream, This Week in Cannabis News, powered by Dutchie. Each Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll deliver an overview of this week's cannabis news. It's quick, it's comprehensive, and it sends you into the weekend as a more informed cannabis professional. And it's all made possible by our friends at Dutchie. You can find and connect with the team there at a link in the show notes. So let's get to it. The delayed process to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 has been the subject of much hand-wringing among the cannabis community. The Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, their hearings were supposed to kick off in January, but they've been delayed indefinitely. And depending on who you ask, this is either a positive or a negative signal. But many pro-reform parties clearly believed that the DEA had no intention of rescheduling and, in fact, stacked the deck for the prohibitionist agenda. According to News This Week, the DEA rejected participation requests from both Colorado and New York officials in support of rescheduling as part of the witness selection process for the hearing. The agency also allegedly assisted almost a dozen anti-cannabis reform groups like Smart Approaches to Marijuana, who were selected as witnesses. This information comes from publicly available court documents after Doctors for Drug Policy Reform, DDPR, a pro-reform group, brought a lawsuit. Dr. Byron Adanoff, who's the president of DDPR, said, "We're better off arguing the case where we are now than going forward and having it not work in our favor." One of the best-known brands in North America, Wana Brands, announced this week that they were rolling out a line of hemp-derived, THC-infused beverages to Total Wine and More stores in 9 states, including Florida and North Carolina. This is another example of the growing trend of traditional THC companies expanding their footprint by offering hemp-derived products outside the adult use and medical cannabis channels. This week there was a big news feature story in the Wall Street Journal that shined a spotlight on Pueblo, Colorado, which was said to be the Napa Valley of cannabis after the state began commercial sales in 2014. The reality turned out to be anything but. In the story, Mason Tvert, who led the campaign for legalization in Colorado, acknowledged that market saturation and competition from other states had hurt cannabis businesses, but said the industry was maturing, not failing. Proponents of legalization, he said, never said it would save the economy. Here's what he said: "People are upset that this isn't solving all these problems that it was never intended to solve." Finally, for all those timid U.S. politicians in D.C. and Florida and Pennsylvania and New Hampshire, this one is for you. Canada became the first major economy to federally legalize cannabis in 2018 under outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. According to a poll of 1,850 Canadians, legalization is the crowning achievement of Trudeau's nearly 10 years in office. 52% said that legalization was his most successful policy, including a strong majority of Canadians between the ages of 18 and 34. Canadians, by and large, seem happy to be buying weed legally. The doom and gloom that some anti-legalization groups in the U.S. predict would happen under federal legalization, like a massive uptick in teen use and violent crime, has not happened here in Canada. And just one note, Canada is not for sale. Had to throw that in. And finally, one fun thing this week. Actor and comedian Danny McBride had an extensive interview this month's issue of GQ. And within that interview, he posited an idea we might all be able to get behind. McBride said that weed and movies, this is his quote, not me, go together effing perfectly. In fact, he said, quote, "If I went to a theater and it was like, here's your popcorn and here's your effing weed, I feel like that would be an awesome little combo right there." McBride continued that he and his friends have tossed around the idea of opening a movie theater with a dispensary inside called, get this, green screen. But they haven't committed to that just yet. That's it for This Week in Cannabis News, powered by Dutchie, but we would love if you follow us on LinkedIn, where this week we hosted another webinar titled Expert Insight on New York's Cannabis Licensing Deals. We hosted it with our partners at Modern Advocacy and Hodgson Russ, and they provided all kinds of juicy insights. All of that is available on our LinkedIn channel and our YouTube channel. So check back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Cultivated's LinkedIn page and our YouTube channel. Be sure to get our newsletter in inbox every morning by visiting cultivated.news. And another thank you to our partners at Dutchie, who make this show possible every single week. A link to find out more about Dutchie is in the show notes. Thank you, everybody. Have a good and safe weekend.